it bothers me about the individuals. I mean, it bothers me that Kobe had a season in which he had to struggle to, help provide the scoring and push himself to the limit, where he eventually, tore Achilles. Whether that would have happened or not, playing 40-plus minutes a game for that duration of time, who knows? It bothers me in a guy that's the level of Dwight Howard has looked human, less than human at times. It hasn't really advanced their game. I think that's the biggest thing about coaching, is that you want players to thrive.
Human, maybe less than human at times under Dwight Howard. Phil Jackson continues his book tour, and he spoke very candidly, as you just heard a moment ago, on the herd. And, Stephen, I'll start with you first. Is Phil right about what he says?
He's absolutely right. Skip Bayless, how many times have I lamented this throughout this year? Particularly when Kobe Bryant went down, I went ballistic. Simply because I understand that we can't definitively say or blame the minutes that he was playing on the Achilles. It could have happened at any time. It could have happened game 1 of the season. We understand that. Nobody's ignorant to that reality and possibility. But if you are in your 17th season and you're averaging 45.2 minutes a game, which is leading the league, in the month of April, that is inexcusable. If you are Dwight Howard and you have a coach that clearly appeared allergic to getting you the ball until he was absolutely forced to do so because all of his guards were in the infirmary, that is a problem. When you have a Pau Gasol who is 7 feet tall and is a 2-time champion and largely responsible for assisting the Lakers in getting the 3 straight NBA Finals appearances, and you bench this dude 3 days into the job, that is a problem. When you sit there and you incorporate and implement a system where you are heavily leaning upon a 39-year-old point guard at the expense of a future Hall of Famer 5-time champion who's 34 in his 17th season, and a supposed franchise caliber player in Dwight Howard, who you are trying to re-sign, and at the expense of the 7-foot Mr. Versatility himself and Pau Gasol. And you do it all because you simply want to. And the only relationship that you have truly cultivated is that with Steve Nash. To the point where you've even alienated somebody like Earl Clark is in your door. Gosh, you can't stand him.
Hurry,
that is a problem. It's a problem.
I love all
and that's
your
what
points.
Phil was saying.
I love all his points.
To all your points, Jim Buss now has a problem, and his name is Phil Jackson, who is on a campaign to just annihilate the credibility of one Jim Buss, the brother of a woman that Phil knows fairly well, named Jeannie Buss, yes. And Stephen A., every day, interview after interview after interview, Phil Jackson turns up the heat on Jim Buss's hot seat higher and higher and higher. And silly me, I think he's campaigning for the Laker job. Doesn't it come across that way?
Phil, I don't think he's campaigning because he doesn't have to. I think what's going on, Skip, according to my sources, there's some internal fighting. Jeannie Buss is trying to get power. She's trying to get an elevated level of power. In other words, we all know that Daddy's dying wish was for Jim Buss to run basketball operations. Okay, yep. They're trying to honor that, but his siblings know he doesn't need to have that job.
No.
If he doesn't, Jeannie Buss will. If she does, either Phil will come back or he'll be able to assist Brian Shaw coming on as the head coach. Yep. By the way, Brian Shaw is a candidate for both the Brooklyn and potentially the Clippers job, even though Byron Scott is a candidate for the Clippers job as well, because obviously, he used to coach CP3, but that's a different subject for another day. The point that I'm trying to make to you is all of that's going on. This is what's going on in Los Angeles. And by the way, Dwight Howard, notice how Phil Jackson said he seemed human. Why? Because even with a bad back, even with the labrum, the shoulder situation, he still averaged 17 and 12. Even with 49% shooting for the free throw line, still averaged 17 and 12. What Phil Jackson is saying is, we should have gotten more from Dwight Howard. And even though Dwight Howard might be to some degree at fault, the bigger onus falls on the shoulders of Mike D'Antoni. It's that simple, Skip.
I know.
It's that simple.
And Rochelle says we got to wrap it up, so let's go.
It also sounds like we just basically have a problem in LA.
We have a problem.
We have a problem in LA.
A problem.
Problem, folks. It's time for our final take. It's rapid fire.